I'm Frank, and I'm all about helping business owners and entrepreneurs start and grow their lawn care business. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. All right, what's going on, lawn care pros? Hey, today we are here with Jared. Jared is the owner of Pest and Lawn Ginja. Hey, Jared, I just wanted to thank you and welcome you to the show.
Hey, you're welcome, guys. It's great to be here.
Great. So, tell me a little bit about what you do, where you are located, and kind of about your, journey in the lawn care business.
All right. Well, it's been a while. I've been around for, going on 18 years. I started out actually with direct sales, long time ago. So we sold pest control in a few lawn care accounts here and there. Over the last going on 13 and a half years, opened up a company called Algal out of Provo, Utah. And I started, I started off in sales in the office, just getting all the marketing and everything done. And then about 3 years into that, so about 10 years ago, I transitioned into the quality assurance side. People would start calling and saying, hey, we got problems. We think it's the product. So I would show up, and I started diagnosing lawns a long time ago. Well, I started noticing that a lot of the things that the suppliers were recommending, products and advice, it looked great on paper, but it wasn't sound advice. It wasn't solving any lawn problems. So I really just started digging into solving lawn problems on my own. And I used my own lawn for the longest time, just trashing it and then bringing it back, trashing it, bringing it back to test all these theories that they were telling me were functional in a work environment, but also functional for solving said lawn problems. And after a lot of trial and error over the course of about 6-7 years, here I am. It was a long journey, and the last, I'd say I brought it all together about 4 years ago. It was about 4 to 7 years ago, I started developing how to diagnose your lawn. So you'll see in my playlist on YouTube, I have a section called What's Wrong with My Lawn, where I just kind of show people how I go out and I actually do that.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of your YouTube channel, man, how long have you been doing that? Because you've got such a huge following, and looking at your videos, I can personally tell because I feel like I'm the same way. I'm passionate about like helping other people, and I can really see that coming out when I look at your videos, and it really shows by your viewership. But how long have you been doing the YouTube channel?
No, I appreciate it. I think I'm going on 4 years now. The first 2 years, I didn't really do much. There really wasn't a lot of value for people. I really was just there to put it up for customers and just kind of show them what was going on. And then a bunch of people from back east were like, oh, hey, we call that red thread in our area. We call that this. We call that this. And I started seeing the bigger picture. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should start trying. So about 2 years ago, I really started trying. And I think 2 years ago, I was at like, I don't know, 30 or 40,000 subscribers. And it just took off from there.
Right. So I'm in the lawn care business as well. And what you were saying earlier, as far as, the trial and error, funny thing is, when I was first starting out, I was looking at like different franchises and stuff. And I looked at a couple of franchises, and I'm not going to mention their names, but one of them was like, not even in the United States. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I even going down that journey? Because what do they know? If you're in Canada or, another country, what do you know about Texas lawns, right? And it just goes to point out what you said is so true about, knowing what your lawn is and your geographical area, and then really, getting down nitty gritty and, testing things and getting with the right people that have been in the industry, not only just in the industry, but in the industry in your area. So that's a really good point. And so looking at the business side of, your journey, right? And that's one of the things that I like to help people with. And I know a lot of people right now. Here it is in November, at least in. Well, no, it's December. Oh my God, it's like what happened to November, right? So December, here it is, and the business is kind of slowing down for people that are like mowing and doing other maintenance type work. And when you started your business and as you were going through that journey, what were some of your struggles? I know some of the struggles for some of our people that are listening are like the seasonality, as we slow down. So what were some of your struggles as you were building your business?
That's a fantastic question. So when we started out 13 years ago, I had a lot of previous experience running summer sales programs. So just shoving a ton of accounts on. And one of our biggest concerns was really just shoving a bunch of accounts on and then having them all cancel. Because we already knew the platform on how to get customers in the door. So what we did is we shoved on about, 700, I think, within a 2-3 month period. And since we didn't really have that experience on the service end, we really just focused on dialing that in. And finding the right software was a really big deal for us to track, like a CRM software. The other issue is how to understand which customers to let go. Pricing was a big deal because I think a lot of us early on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you shove all these people on and you're just trying to give them the best deal possible because you don't see your value.
Yes. Yes. that I mean, that's such a great point. That is.
So, the other big thing is okay, when we do make a mistake or we've got a technician at somebody's house and we're not confident that they did the job correctly, how do we deal with that as well? Because I think our initial inclination is to try to justify why the guy did a great job, even though we may not know, even though we may not understand. And, the simple solution to that was to go on site and really investigate what was going on. But what we ultimately had to do to protect our clients was put in GPS tracking devices and just see, okay, well, at least we know he's there. And these days you can even take it a step further, getting a 360 cam that records, 24/7. So you can at least see them get out of the truck. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, but I would say those were kind of the top things that we dealt with. But the lawn side, man, when it comes to fertilizer, if you don't have a good baseline, it is so difficult to put your faith in these suppliers. And I hate to say it, but it is very difficult to find a lawn mentor that actually knows what they're talking about. Because you're right, every area is different. Every piece of equipment that you're going to be using can be different. Like we use the Hypro D30s. We started out with Kappa 22s and Kappa 25s. And we quickly found out that those weren't sufficient, but the suppliers told us, hey, the Kappa 22 is fine, and it really wasn't. We could get to 2 gallons a minute, but mixing things up, it didn't have enough agitation. We had a lot of issues. And then what do you put in the tank? The supplier told us, oh, well, you need 6 bags of 4600, per 100 gallons. And I'm like looking at it, and it literally looks like glue.
Yeah. And I'm laughing because I can literally appreciate what you're saying because I get where you're going with that.
Gosh, and it's funny too because I would say mathematically he was correct.
Yes.
That's 1.5 pounds of nitrogen, and when you lose from volatilization, you're back down to 3/4 pound. But the whole thing was just ridiculous when it came down to it, and it was extremely frustrating. I would say we didn't even venture into lawns for the first year. And we had no intentions of doing it, but we had so many requests. And, when you're on this journey, you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm getting requests. There must be a market there. And that's a place to make money. I need money because I'm drowning in costs. And that's kind of how we started. We only had like 30 lawns the first year that we did it, which I think was season 2 or 3. And then because we didn't know anything, man.
Yeah.
We really didn't. I mean, we were buying bags of pre-emergent.
I mean, who does,
And
right? Who does when you're first starting out? And that's what's so great about where we are in our evolution with technology right now. Like, people are listening right now, and the amount of information that all the golden nuggets that you're putting out right now, it just blows my mind. Like, I wish I had a Jared whenever I was first starting out. I wish I had a
me
Frank
too.
whenever I was first starting out, because from a business standpoint, some of the things that you were pointing out, like, and I had the same kind of worries is about, I can add on 700 customers in a year. I really can. But, it sounds like you have those same kind of values, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
don't want to just put out, pardon the French, I don't want to put out crap. I want to put out quality, right? So
I
it's
don't
not.
think that's French, Frank.
Yeah, yeah, it might not be, right? So, but like, how do we take care of the production side, right? That's always been my challenge, right? And I've got that challenge under control. So that was one of my pain points whenever I was first starting out. Is yeah, I'm great. I'm great at marketing. I can get the customers, but do I really want to churn, right? I mean, we can both appreciate a national brand, and I'm not going to point out who, right? But people can figure it out. But they're a marketing machine, right?
Oh yeah, I don't have a marketing budget of 100 million.
Right, right. So yeah, you're not on top of Google Ads, 365 days, in a year. Even though that's not that, we're not trying to add customers 365 days a year because, as in our business, the chemical side of the business, there's a window of opportunity is, here in Texas, it's going to be like mid-February till end of April, beginning of May. It depends on the temperature. So again, we don't have those kind of budgets, but it goes back to we really don't need it, right? Because we're trying to put out quality where they might be like the people that are, have that huge budget, but they're a marketing machine that just happens to do lawns, right? And they're basically churning lawns.
Sure.
But it just goes back to how I appreciate what you're saying here, and I want the listeners to really hone in on that. Is, really try to do a good job. And the other thing that you mentioned is kind of owning up to, are we doing a quality job? Not, dismissing that customer complaint, as you said, when they said Joe didn't do a good job, and then we all have a tendency to put up our guard and say, oh no, Joe is fantastic. Joe's not like. I can really appreciate what you're saying, and I want the listeners to kind of hone in on that. Be open-minded, and when you have a customer complaint, take it on an individual basis. Maybe Joe did have a bad day, so I really appreciate everything you're putting out, and the nuggets just fantastic. So going back, those were some of your earlier struggles. As we grow in our business, and we get the correct CRM, we've got the right employees, we got our marketing down, the production is honed in. We've figured out, in your business, we've figured out, what chemicals to put down at what rate, what works, not what the supplier is necessarily trying to sell us, but what actually works. So, going beyond that, what other struggles have you had to deal with, halfway through your journey, and maybe even now, as you're continuing to grow your business?
Most of it comes down to how to keep the right employees and how to identify and cut the fat.
Yeah.
Every single year you've got one bad apple, at least one bad apple out of 10. And that one guy is always poison to the other guys. He's the one cutting corners. He's the one that's not communicating with clients correctly, not mixing his tank correctly, just kind of causing problems, not checking his truck, not checking the oil, not checking the oil in the pumps. There's always that one guy. And being able to identify it. And this is where things get complicated, right? Because as a boss these days, and I don't want to get into the whole debate on millennials or anything like that, but it is difficult to find employees that care. However, with that said, I find that it is true with this generation of people, they're looking to be a part of something that they can grow with, but also looking to be a part of something that they feel has not only growing opportunities, but expansion opportunities. And that doesn't mean that they want to become a manager. Mm-hmm. It just means that they need a reason to go out and do a really, really, really good job, because they can all sit at a desk these days. Mm-hmm. And they find out real quick that their depression skyrockets, and that's why they end up at a company like yours. But you have to figure out how to build a culture where they feel safe. It's almost like having a relationship, like a marriage, if you will. They legit want to come in and feel a little bit worshipped, but they want to feel a sense of belonging. And that is the single most difficult thing to do, because if you're old school like me, you come in and you're just like, dude, what the frick is your problem, man?
Yeah.
Like, I need you to get off your butt, and I need you to get in the truck out of here. You've been here for 45 minutes.
Right.
Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you should have already had 2 services done. But you take that approach with these guys and they shut down.
Yeah, absolutely. And, such a great point, because I hear that all the time. It's, I'm having such a difficult time finding employees. I'm having such a difficult time finding the right employees. They're so lazy these days. They're so, this is what I'm hearing, right?
And it's not that they're lazy. They don't have enough belief in you to get the job done right.
I agree 100%. And you hear these things, and as the employer, right? Some of the people that I talk to, they're the ones that actually are starting to shut down, right? They're shutting down mentally. They're it goes back.
Been there.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying when it comes to the employee or the customer that complains about an employee, and we defend that employee, right? And we're, in essence, shutting down. We're making excuses. So it goes hand in hand with, when we're, hiring these employees or looking for these great employees, that, we don't shut down, and in the sense that we're, inundated with all these ideas, right? And they're false ideas. And these ideas are, they're all horrible. You can't find the right one. So now all you're doing is just making excuses, right? And then I always say, well, what about the other company over there that's running 20 trucks?
Well, I'm going to cut you off right there.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dichotomy that do you remember when we were little and our grandparents just looked at us and said, man, you don't know how to work?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Dude, my grandpa, holy crap, man. He would hand me my butt on a silver platter every time. It's like, you just standing there doing nothing. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been working nonstop. He said, yeah, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't get it. Your generation. We've always heard this. The difficult portion about this generation gap is it is so different. It is so black and white different. You and I will never understand what they're going through.
No, you're right.
And that is the one thing that they need to stay, is somebody that has a general understanding of what they're going through. So when we do start to pop off on these people, and when we do start to get frustrated, they don't care. They know that they've got 100 other choices. Mm-hmm. And so you legit have to look internally and change your perception about how you're running your business. And I think that's where I believe, let me change my phrase here.
Yeah.
I believe that is the true root cause of the dysfunction, is the owners not understanding how to make change, because the employees, they won't change. It's a generational issue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's so difficult if you, like me personally, and talking to you, I feel that you're the same way. We care so much, right? And we've been brought up in a way where, when I worked in a restaurant, and way back when I was younger, if I saw my manager doing something, right, that I should be doing, I would like jump in. I would have that pride, and
Yeah.
it's
I
not
get that.
Yeah, it's not something that you're gonna see these days, right? And you're gonna see, well, I take that back. You're not gonna see it as, if there was 10 out of 10 people like that back then, there might be like 5 or 6 now, right?
I think the easiest way for me to put it is, for instance, I've had employees over the past 5 years, right? I go outside, I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we're having a problem with the pump. I said, okay, well, what have you done? And they go, what do you mean, what have I done? I said, okay,
Right.
well, what's happening? They said, well, I'm getting liquid here, but it's not coming out. And I said, okay, well, is the dampener moving? Well, what's the dampener?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, you've been here for 3 years. And we've been over this 100 times, right? There's this thing. So what I do is I completely change the approach, right? And I go over there and I say, okay, well, why don't you follow me? So they'll follow me over there and say, hey, listen, this is the dampener. This is what I'm looking for. And they say, well, what are you looking for? I say, well, it's got a pulse. And if it's pulsing, great. We know that the diaphragms are fine. Mm-hmm. If it's not pulsing, we know that there's a problem either with the diaphragm, or we don't have enough pressure in the top diaphragm. And they go, oh, okay. And keep in mind, I have to hand walk them through this a minimum of 5 to 10 times before they're going to get it.
Yeah.
The only other way around it is to set up a testing area and really just cause problems, and then make them take a test to do it. And put them in situations where they have to figure it out. But it's interesting. You legit have to hold them by the hand, and I blame the school systems for doing this. And I don't want to get political, but they don't. This whole No Child Left Behind thing,
Yeah.
doesn't leave people to fail. And I've talked to teachers. I've sat down with them, and I said, because I was trying to solve these problems with my employees. I say, okay, what is your frustration? And I said, well, the parents come in and yell at me if their kid doesn't get an A. And I'm like, holy crap, are you saying that every kid gets an A? She's just like, yeah. I'm like, listen, my kid, if he's not doing the work, he's not getting an A. I need you to understand this. They say, are you serious? We really like you. And I'm like, no, if he does not earn it, he doesn't get it. And so I started really diving in, and legit, the teachers are doing most of the homework with the kids at school. And so they're just so programmed to being held by the hand, and they have access to knowledge at the phone, but they don't even know when to access it. It's like all they had to do was watch a couple of videos from High Pro, and they could have figured this out. But they can't even get to that point because nobody's told them to do it. And so the amount of patience that you have to really be around these kids, it's really high. But you have to understand that they don't think the same way that we do, because they weren't brought up the same way. They didn't get to struggle. And you're going to see, they keep talking about the depression rates going up. Mm-hmm. And it's because everybody's taken away purpose. Nothing is earned. And that's the thing that I still love about sports, like the NBA and the NFL and NHL and baseball. You still have to earn your spot. You're not given that, because you have to put in the work. You have to have a little bit of talent, but more so Trump's talent is work ethic.
Absolutely. And so, when we talk about the employee issues, kind of wrapping it up on that subject, I want the listeners to understand those business owners that are out there to understand, yeah, you can make those excuses. It's so difficult to find that perfect employee. When I was doing it, I did it so much better, and those kind of things. Those are all negative things that, I tell people just kind of just take them and throw them in the trash, right? You have what you have to deal with right now. This is what we have to deal with. Sure. And, when I look at companies that are running 20 trucks or $5 million or $10 million a year on annual sales, they found employees, right? They just had to work harder. Sure. They just had to interview, instead of 10 people, they had to interview 100 people, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to.
And they had to put in the processes, and I've mentioned this in the past, they had to put in the processes of, teaching those employees, right? Training those employees.
Yep.
They had to give them what you said earlier, the culture, right? The culture that they want to be there. They believe in your mission, right? They believe in the company's mission.
But more so, they have to believe that you actually care.
Absolutely.
They will not show up if they don't feel welcome.
And that could be part of your culture, right? Like, this is our culture. We care about our employees.
I'll drop you a little gem here.
Okay.
Part of your interview process should be a personality test. You need to figure out how these kids feel loved. Yeah. Whether it's words of affirmation or whether you're buying them a little trinket once a week.
Right.
Like for our employees, there's a couple of them. We get them cards for soda. They're just prepaid cards for soda shops around town.
And they're elated. They're elated. You're finding that trigger for that person.
But some of them could care less.
So you got to find that right thing for the right person, just like you said.
Yeah, and I'll drop a bomb on your show that nobody knows about, but I'm creating a learning course called 10-Day Technician.
Oh, I love it.
And what we do is over the course of 5 days or 5 learning courses, we give them the bare minimum to get on their own. And that includes spray rates, figuring out how to agitate properly, like the tanks, and figuring out how to apply the products and how to ask the right questions. Because they're not going to come out of the gates like you and I did. They're not going to go take a state-mandated test and then just be okay. They just have to know how to keep the customer safe, how to keep themselves safe, and how to understand application rates and how it goes down. And we've had a lot of good success with this system. I've been proving it over the last 7 years, and I think it's going to be good. But again, 10-Day Technician gives you the bare minimum to get out to do the job.
That's awesome. And again, you heard it here, right? 10-Day Technician. So Jared's coming out with this, like a mini course. Is that what we're?
Yeah, that's going to be one of the mini learning courses. I'm coming out with a website called Lawn Master Academy, and it's going to encompass everything from pest control to lawn care. But I'm splitting it into 3 categories. We're going to have the DIY side for homeowners, and then we're going to end up having a side for business owners, and then we're going to have a side for technicians. So it's going to be wrapped up in 3 different sections. I anticipate it's going to take me about a year and a half to really iron everything out to the point where it's like, wow. Initially, I'm just going to be doing blowout prices so people can grow with me. But these are things that I've been perfecting over the last 13 years. And just really just trying to get out there and help residents and homeowners do the job correctly. Because there's a lot of safety issues. We can get into that later, I think, or not at all.
For sure. Yeah, that's right.
But my opinion is it is much better to give this information out at a reasonable price or even for free on my YouTube channel and have people doing things correctly. Like in my area, we have a ton of phosphorus, tons of phosphorus. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, people buy Milorganite. And I'm just flabbergasted because we have a problem called algal bloom. And that's where nitrogen gets encompassed in phosphorus. And it happens every single year, and people don't understand It happens because we already have high level rates of phosphorus in the soil. So it's already going to happen, but you keep spoon feeding phosphorus into the soil here, it poisons and fast, and it leaches into our waterways. So that's kind of my why behind everything. A little bit environmental, but traveling through this journey and just talking to, I don't know, 50, 75 different people who are trying to sell you stuff all the time and finding out that they really don't know what they're talking about, it drove me crazy.
Absolutely.
And I don't want anybody going through that.
And that goes back to really, as far as, especially on the chemical side of the business, really knowing, your area, getting with the right people that have been in the industry, dealing with your specific area,
But even if you can't find that guy, where are you going to go?
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to
every single day I get that question over some sort of messenger service or some sort of email every single day.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And I think this would definitely be beneficial. Really appreciate you coming on. I look forward to having you on again.
Sure.
Thank you so much. I hope this information was helpful to you. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. See you next time, Lawn Care Pros.